Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
All right, well today we're diving into the world of billionaire investor Philippe Laffont
Oh, yeah, Laffont.
and his firm Coatue Management.
Interesting.
Yeah, and we're following a recent article from The Motley Fool.
Okay.
And let me tell you, Laffont's latest moves have analysts scratching their heads.
Really? What's he up to?
Well, you'll have to wait and see, but by the end of this, you'll understand not just what he's buying and selling, but why those decisions are making waves on Wall Street.
Can't wait.
So what's really caught your eye?
Well, Laffont is selling off a chunk of his NVIDIA stock.
NVIDIA.
Yeah. Now, on the surface, that might seem strange.
I mean, given NVIDIA's dominance in the AI landscape,
Right. They've been riding high on the AI wave for most of 2024.
their stock has been on fire.
Exactly. But it seems Laffont is looking beyond the hype.
So if he's not chasing the hottest trend, where is Coatue Management putting their money?
Well, it appears they're diving headfirst into the pharmaceutical sector.
Pharma?
Yeah, specifically two companies, Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly.
Okay.
And we're not talking a small dip in the pool here.
Oh,
Coatue has significantly increased its stake in these companies,
really?
particularly Novo Nordisk. Their investment is now over 9 times larger.
9 times larger.
Yep.
Wow. That's a massive vote of confidence.
For sure.
So what's making these pharma giants so attractive right now?
It's all about the market for anti-obesity drugs.
Anti-obesity drugs.
Yeah, Morgan Stanley predicts this market will reach a staggering $105 billion by 2030.
$105 billion.
Up from just $6 billion in 2023.
Wow. That's incredible.
That kind of growth potential is certainly enticing.
I'll say.
And both Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly are at the forefront of this revolution.
Okay, that explains the market buzz, but what's fueling this massive growth?
There's definitely a scientific breakthrough driving this.
Yeah.
Those companies have developed incredibly effective drugs.
What kind of drugs?
They're called GLP-1 agonists.
Okay.
Novo Nordisk has semaglutide.
Semaglutide.
Yeah, marketed under brand names like Ozempic, Rybelsus, and Wegovy.
Oh, okay.
Eli Lilly has tirzepatide,
Okay.
marketed as Mounjaro or Zepbound.
Got it.
These drugs are achieving weight loss results that were previously unimaginable,
How much weight loss are we talking?
sometimes even exceeding 20% in clinical trials.
20%. That's incredible.
It is.
I've seen those ads, and the results are pretty impressive. But why are these GLP-1 drugs so much more effective?
Think of GLP-1 drugs as a more targeted approach.
Okay.
They work by mimicking a naturally occurring hormone in your body.
Which hormone?
It's called GLP-1.
GLP-1, okay.
Helps regulate blood sugar levels and appetite.
Interesting.
By fine-tuning these systems, GLP-1 drugs help people feel fuller for longer, reducing cravings,
That makes sense.
and ultimately leading to sustained weight loss.
So it's not just about suppressing appetite, it's about working with the body's natural mechanisms. The article also mentions that both companies are racing to develop the next generation of GLP-1 drugs. Can you tell us more about these?
Absolutely. Novo Nordisk is working on a drug called Cagrilintide,
Cagrilintide, okay.
which combines semaglutide with another molecule.
Another molecule, what is it?
It's called an amylin analog.
Amylin analog.
They're essentially doubling down on the body's natural weight regulation system.
So like a supercharged version of semaglutide.
You could say that.
What about Eli Lilly? What's their next move?
Eli Lilly is taking a bold step with retatrutide.
Retatrutide.
It's a triple action drug.
Girl action.
Yeah, targets not only the GLP-1 receptor, but also the GIP and glucagon receptors.
Wow.
Think of it as a three-pronged attack on the mechanisms driving weight gain.
Okay.
It's a novel approach.
And how effective is it?
Early clinical trial data suggests it could be even more effective than current treatments.
This is getting intense.
I know, right?
It's like a pharmaceutical arms race.
It is.
Each company pushing the boundaries of science to capture this booming market.
Definitely.
But with all this innovation and investment, there have to be risks, right?
Of course.
What?
Well, both companies are priced high right now, reflecting the market's optimistic outlook.
So you're saying there's a lot of pressure for these drugs to live up to the hype.
Yeah.
What happens if they don't?
Well, there's definitely potential for volatility.
Oh.
Eli Lilly, in particular, is trading at a higher valuation than Novo Nordisk.
Okay.
So any setbacks in their drug development or sales could lead to more significant losses for investors.
That makes sense. But the article also mentioned that Novo Nordisk's stock took a recent dip.
It did.
Wouldn't that make it a more attractive buy right now?
Well, Novo Nordisk stock did take a hit recently,
Why is that?
partly due to concerns that Cagrilintide results might not be as impressive as Eli Lilly's retatrutide.
I see.
However, even with the dip, it's still trading at a fairly high valuation.
So it's a tough call.
It is.
On the one hand, you have Eli Lilly with potentially the more effective drug, but carrying more risk.
Right.
And on the other, you have Novo Nordisk, which might be slightly less risky, but perhaps with less blockbuster potential.
Yeah.
What's an investor to do?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
Ultimately, it comes down to individual risk tolerance and investment strategy. There's no one-size-fits-all answer here.
Well, you've certainly painted a vivid picture of this pharmaceutical showdown.
It's a fascinating field to watch, that's for sure.
It's fascinating to see how these companies are innovating and competing to dominate this market.
Absolutely.
So what's next? What else do we need to consider?
I think it's the perfect point to shift our focus to the next generation of these game-changing drugs. Let's delve into the specifics of CagriSema and retatrutide, their clinical trial results, and what they could mean for the future of the anti-obesity market.
Sounds good to me.
All right, so let's unpack these next-gen GLP-1 treatments.
Yeah, let's break it down,
Nice.
starting with Novo Nordisk's CagriSema. We touched on it earlier, but can you explain how combining semaglutide with an amylin analog actually helps with weight loss?
It's actually quite clever.
Okay.
You see, amylin is a hormone naturally produced in the pancreas,
Uh-huh.
and it plays a role in regulating blood sugar
Okay.
and suppressing appetite
Gotcha.
by combining semaglutide,
Right.
which targets the GLP-1 receptor,
Mhm.
with an amylin analog.
Yeah.
They're hitting the body's weight regulation system from two different angles.
So it's like they're creating a synergistic effect,
Yeah.
amplifying the benefits of each individual component.
Yeah.
And what kind of results are we seeing in clinical trials?
The results are pretty remarkable.
Really?
In a phase 3 trial,
Uh-huh.
CagriSema led to an average weight loss of 20.4%
20.4.
after 68 weeks of treatment.
Wow.
That's significantly higher than what's typically seen with semaglutide alone.
Wow, that's a game changer.
It is.
20% weight loss could have a profound impact on someone's health and quality of life. So when can we expect to see CagriSema hit the market?
Novo Nordisk has already submitted their application for FDA approval.
Okay.
And if all goes well,
Yeah.
we could see CagriSema available to patients by late next year.
Okay, so potentially just around the corner.
Yep.
Now let's turn our attention to Eli Lilly's contender,
Okay.
retatrutide.
Right.
This one sounds even more ambitious,
It is.
with its triple action mechanism.
Yeah.
What makes retatrutide unique in this crowded field?
Retatrutide is quite fascinating because it targets 3 different receptors
Okay.
involved in regulating appetite and metabolism,
Mm-hmm.
the GLP-1 receptor,
Okay.
the GIP receptor,
Mhm.
and the glucagon receptor.
Got it.
It's a novel approach.
So instead of just targeting 1 or 2 pathways,
Right.
they're going after 3 simultaneously.
Exactly.
That's a bold move.
It is.
And how do the clinical trial results for retatrutide compare to CagriSema?
While retatrutide is still in earlier stages of clinical development, the initial results are certainly impressive.
Like what?
In a phase 2 trial,
Yeah.
participants taking retatrutide achieved an average weight loss of 22.1%
22.1%.
after just 48 weeks of treatment.
Wow, that's even higher than CagriSema.
It is.
And in a shorter time frame,
That's right.
it sounds like Eli Lilly might be pulling ahead in this race.
It seems so.
But you mentioned that retatrutide is still in the earlier stages of development.
Right.
What's the estimated timeline for potential FDA approval?
Eli Lilly initiated a phase 3 trial for retatrutide in May of 2023,
Okay.
and it's expected to conclude in January 2026,
All right.
assuming the results are positive
Uh-huh.
and their application is submitted promptly.
Yeah.
We could potentially see FDA approval sometime in late 2026 or early 2027.
Okay, so a bit further down the road than CagriSema, but
Yeah.
still within a reasonable time frame.
For sure.
It seems like both of these next-generation GLP-1 drugs have the potential to revolutionize the treatment of obesity.
I agree.
It's an exciting time to be following this field.
It is.
But we can't get swept up in the excitement without acknowledging potential downsides.
Of course.
What are some of the key risks or concerns that both investors and patients should be aware of?
One of the biggest concerns is long-term safety.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
While both CagriSema and retatrutide have demonstrated good safety profiles in their initial trials, we don't yet have data on their long-term effects.
Yeah.
It's possible that unforeseen side effects could emerge over time,
Right.
which could impact their approval or widespread adoption.
So long-term safety is paramount.
It is.
when it comes to any new drug,
Absolutely.
especially one intended for chronic use.
Right.
And even if they prove to be safe in the long run,
Hmm.
there's the ever-present issue of cost.
Oh, for sure.
We briefly touched on that earlier.
Yeah.
But can you elaborate on the potential financial barriers associated with these treatments?
These new GLP-1 drugs are already quite expensive,
Okay.
and it's likely that cagrisema and retatrutide will be even pricier. This raises concerns about affordability and access,
Right.
especially for those without insurance or adequate coverage.
I see.
It's a major hurdle
Yeah.
that could limit the reach of these potentially life-changing treatments.
That's a sobering thought.
It is.
The potential of these drugs is undeniable.
Right.
But if they're not accessible to those who need them most,
Yeah,
their impact will be severely limited.
it will.
It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
I agree.
And it highlights the need for a broader discussion about healthcare affordability and access.
Absolutely, you've hit the nail on the head.
While the scientific advancements are truly remarkable,
They are.
we need to ensure that they translate into real-world benefits for everyone,
Yeah,
not just a select few.
that's right.
It's a challenge that requires collaboration and innovation from all stakeholders.
I agree.
Researchers, policymakers, healthcare providers, and insurance companies alike.
For sure.
So while we celebrate the progress being made in the fight against obesity, we must also acknowledge the complexities and challenges that lie ahead.
Yeah.
It's a balancing act.
It is.
Between embracing scientific breakthroughs and ensuring equitable access to those breakthroughs.
I agree.
And now, let's bring it back to Philippe Laffont in his investment strategy.
Okay.
We've discussed the potential of these next-generation GLP-1 drugs, but is he betting on the right horse?
Good question.
What are your thoughts on his decision to go all in on Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly?
Well, it's important to remember that even the most astute investors can't predict the future with certainty.
Yeah.
Laffont is clearly confident that these two companies are poised to dominate the anti-obesity market,
Okay.
and he's willing to bet big on their success. But the market is dynamic
Yeah.
and unpredictable,
Right.
and there are always factors that could derail even the best-laid plans.
So there's always an element of risk,
There is.
even for a seasoned investor like Laffont. What are some of the potential pitfalls or unforeseen events that could throw a wrench into his strategy?
There are several scenarios that could play out.
Like what?
Unexpected safety concerns could emerge with either cagrisema or retatrutide,
Okay.
leading to delays in approval or limitations on their use.
Yeah, that would definitely be a setback.
Or a new competitor could enter the market
Oh, interesting.
with a more effective or affordable treatment,
Right.
disrupting the dominance of Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly.
It's like a game of chess
It is.
where every move has consequences.
Yeah.
And the landscape can shift rapidly.
For sure.
And we can't forget about the regulatory environment,
Oh, right, of course.
which can be unpredictable
Absolutely.
and have a significant impact on the pharmaceutical industry.
Definitely.
The FDA could impose stricter regulations on GLP-1 drugs,
Yeah.
making it more challenging for these companies to market their products or expand their indications.
You're right. The regulatory landscape is a critical factor.
And then there's...
And we've seen how quickly things can change
Yeah.
based on new data or safety concerns.
And let's not forget about the ever-present possibility of patent challenges.
Oh, right.
If a competitor successfully challenges the patents protecting these drugs,
Uh-huh.
it could erode the profits of Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly,
For sure.
leading to a decline in their stock prices.
Yeah.
So it's a complex
It is.
and ever-changing landscape
Yeah.
filled with opportunities and pitfalls.
Absolutely.
Laffont is making a calculated gamble,
Yeah.
but it's not without its risks.
No.
What would you say to someone considering following his lead and investing in either of these companies?
My advice would be to approach this investment with caution
Okay.
and do your own thorough research.
Good advice.
Carefully consider your risk tolerance.
Mm-hmm.
And remember that diversification is key.
Right.
Investing in any single company,
Yeah,
especially in a volatile sector like pharmaceuticals,
Yeah.
can be risky.
for sure.
A well-balanced portfolio is essential to mitigate potential losses.
Wise words indeed.
Thank you.
It's crucial to remember that investing always involves a degree of uncertainty.
It does.
There are no guarantees.
Nope.
And even the most promising investments can go sour.
That's true.
That's why it's so important to stay informed,
Yes.
do your due diligence,
Yeah.
and be prepared for the unexpected.
Absolutely.
The market is constantly evolving,
It is.
and the ability to adapt and adjust your strategy is paramount.
I couldn't agree more.
I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have?
From the science behind these next-generation GLP-1 drugs to the financial implications of Laffont's investment strategy,
Yeah,
it's been a fascinating deep dive into a complex and rapidly evolving field.
it has.
And I think it's a great time to step back and look at the bigger picture.
Okay.
What are the key takeaways from this exploration? All right, so let's try to sum up everything we've discussed about these GLP-1 drugs.
Okay.
We've seen how they're changing the way we think about treating obesity,
Absolutely.
and how companies like Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly are battling it out to lead this market.
Right. It's a really interesting race to watch.
But as we've seen with Laffont's investments, the future is still uncertain.
No doubt about it.
There are just so many factors at play.
Yeah, for like...
Scientific breakthroughs, regulations, global events.
Yeah, all of those things can impact this industry.
So the big question everyone's asking is, will all this hype about GLP-1 drugs actually pan out?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Or is this a bubble that's about to burst?
Well, there's a lot of optimism right now.
I mean, the market is pricing in a lot of future success.
Right. But any setbacks could lead to big changes.
So what could make or break these drugs?
Well, long-term safety and effectiveness are key.
So we need more data to know for sure.
Exactly. We need to see if the initial positive results actually lead to lasting weight loss and better health.
And even if they do, there's the issue of cost.
Oh, for sure.
These drugs are already expensive.
Yeah, and that could limit access for a lot of patients.
Especially those without insurance or good coverage.
Right, and that would really undermine their potential impact.
It's a complicated problem with no easy solutions.
I agree. It requires a much broader conversation about healthcare costs and access.
We've also talked about how competitive this market is.
Yeah, and it's constantly changing.
New companies and treatments are emerging all the time.
Exactly. Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly might be leading the pack now.
But their dominance could be challenged at any moment.
For sure, so the landscape is constantly shifting.
It's full of potential, but also a lot of risk.
Definitely.
Which makes it all the more interesting to follow.
It does.
So what's the main takeaway for our listeners?
I think it's that even with cutting-edge science and huge investments, there are no guarantees in this market.
And it takes constant innovation and flexibility to succeed.
Absolutely.
And that reminds us to always stay curious and informed.
It's about always seeking new knowledge and perspectives.
Well said. I think that's a great place to wrap up our deep dive. It's been fascinating to explore the world of GLP-1 drugs with you.
It has been a pleasure.
And to all our listeners, thank you for joining us. Remember to keep exploring and diving deeper into the things that interest you. Until next time.